is this time really different, and why so, if it is?
I think that's an often used stroke misused phrase in financial markets, that this time is different. I think from the perspective of markets and valuations, I think there are better, more informed people, even though I have some history in that space. But I think the two things to keep in mind about what we are going through right now. Firstly, I think we're still dealing with the aftershocks of the massive disruption we saw in 2020 and 21 with COVID. I don't think we've normalized any part of the supply chain, demand cycle, or even people. So I think that has some implications on how we compare this time to the previous recessions, number one. Number two, I think we are, I would say, in the early stages of a very big tech investing super cycle that started, in earnest really in 2021. Even though the backdrop of that investing super cycle had been around for the last few years. I mean, we commonly call it the digital investing cycle, only because it's driving a very large change in the way enterprises consume technology, not just in terms of building out a digital application layer, but primarily every part of the tech infrastructure, tech estate is actually getting renovated, with cloud and data as the two core theses around which the entire renovation is happening. I don't think we've seen this kind of a renovation since tech became omnipresent in enterprises 50 years ago. So I think this is a very massive pivot. Early stages of that pivot, we're talking about a 10, maybe 15-year journey before every enterprise truly has embraced some form of new tech. And I think those two things really make this time a little bit different. Not from the point of view of whether valuations will go back to the same levels that in the past recessions did, but more from the point of view of how we come through, how we navigate through, how we keep the eyes on the bigger, as they say, eye on the prize. And really, I think that's the North Star that we're using as we plan for the next few quarters.
Sandeep, in a long, and primarily my question is the same, that can this cycle, or is this cycle different, and can it be different? But also embedded in that question is this, that in a long cycle, there can be hiccups, and the hiccups can be fairly long as well if the cycle is decadal long. I mean, something that we've spoken about in the past. To your mind, how comparable is the current environment to past Western recessions / slowdowns? And if they are indeed different or similar, why do you say so?
So I think, look, I agree to a number of points that Nitin mentioned. In my perspective, look, if we look at it, there was a good amount of digital transformation journey that started in the COVID era. A lot of those are long range programs. Those are not things that people will just pause in the middle and then revisit after a few years. These things are caused, whatever we are seeing, recession that might happen, a mild recession maybe there in the US, or maybe a slightly longer in Europe and so on. It's also somewhat linked to the inflation in the US and globally, and further, the issues between Russia and Ukraine are impacting all of this. In our mind, what we are seeing is possibly the next 3 to 4 quarters are going to be more challenging. After that, we are seeing the long-term investments, etc. They will continue. So whatever discussions we are having with our customers, they are looking at deprioritizing some of the business as usual activities, but long range, they are not deprioritizing. So from that perspective, we do expect this to be much shallower kind of a slowdown than we have seen in the past. That's at a broader level.